Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's September 21st, 2021. I'm going to do another tour of the gardens today. And I haven't gotten as much accomplished this week as I would like to. I've been laid up, and Thea was on vacation last week, so she got a lot of things harvested and all. So here we go. I have had to do some weed whacking. I've got a lot more work to do inside of this area. So we're in the western garden plot. Right here we have the red currants. They're doing extremely well. I did clean off some of the weed mats. These are the blueberry plants. They've all been doing very, very well. And of course, all of our berry production from all our plants, with the exception of the thornless blackberry plants, are done for the season. We're still waiting on some trees. All the apples are completely ripe. So here we have the honeyberries along in here. I did weed along this edge, but I still have to weed around the plants themselves and up to the chain link fencing. On the other side are the gooseberry plants that we've been stooling or mound layering as well. So this is fall now, so everything's getting to the point where they're starting to quiet down and get ready to end the season. Now, I can't remember if I pulled out the cauliflower from over in this area, but I did come in and weed, and I did go ahead and started tip rooting some of the thornless blackberry plants down there at the end. A couple of them aren't going to make it there. The last couple of days been pretty warm, and I bent the cane some. But I did go ahead, get this area weeded, did a slight tilthing with the tilther going over the surface of it, and then I have a mustard seed mix that I put down in this area. On this side over here, you may be able to see, I can't bend too far, but this is still all wood chips. Now, this was all wood chips with 2 rows of compost initially. And gradually the wood chips have been breaking down, so seeding into the wood chips as they're breaking down will send the roots down in there, and we're going to encourage a transformation of many of the microorganisms. So I just sweeped over some of the bigger chips over to this side, left a lot of the smaller chips here. That's 2-year-old wood chips right there. Some of it's 1-year-old on top of it, and there's 3-year-old wood chips in this whole area here. So it was much higher, the elevation in this area. So I just ran the tilther over it gently, pulled the drip tapes back, ran the tilther, and then went ahead and cast the seed by hand. And you can see it looks really patchy at this point. The scarlet red runner beans have continued to do well. Haven't harvested any more of those yet, but they've been, as you can see, there's tons of them, and many of them are getting real close to doing well. And we still have plenty of young ones here as well. The hummingbirds have left. I haven't seen the hummingbirds in the last week or so, which is a shame. I really enjoy them. But maybe because of the photo period, that's the reason that they've gone ahead and moved on. The carpenter bees, the big bumblebees, they're still here, and the butterflies are here feeding on the flowers, on the nectar and all. So that's pretty good. Here's the other bed. So this was where broccoli was. So I went ahead and cut off all the broccoli and the cauliflower over there in the other bed, cut it off at ground level. So the biomass from above the surface of the ground is now being composted, and the biomass below the ground, all the roots, are being broken down by the various microorganisms and by the earthworms. And so ran the tilth, but removed the tape, removed the weed mats back, and cut off the plants at the ground surface. Then I went ahead and ran the tilther down here, put the weed tape, seeded it, put the drip tape back down on top of the surface of the bed, and we're going to let all of this stuff grow for as long as it possibly can, and see how things go. So this was seeded, I think, 3 days ago. So these mustard seed really germinate pretty quickly. This is one of our leftover elderberry plants here. All our elderberry plants are doing really well. So that's the western garden plot. Not much changed around here on the outside. I still have plenty of work to do around there. And we'll go back over to the central garden plot now. And as you can see, the tomato plants, our next freezer, I think I mentioned that in the last garden update. We have a freezer coming later on this week, so we'll get one more harvest out of these tomatoes. And the rest of it's just going to go into compost, and we'll take a lot of the nice ripe ones here, since we want to keep the this line going, because they've really done extremely well. These are the San Marzano tomatoes, and we eat those every day of the year. So as you can see, the bushes are starting to die back right now, and so I'll have to get these guys out of the ground within the next 2 weeks. Thea did come out and harvest a whole bunch more of the banana peppers, but they're all starting to turn now. These peppers have really produced a lot, and the tomatoes have. I think the mycorrhizal inoculation when we did our transplants. So we just added. I did post a video in June doing the transplants of both tomatoes and the banana peppers, and when we were transplanting our seedlings that we started over the winter months or early spring, we went ahead and used mycorrhizal fungi to inoculate the surface of the roots on the transplants as we put them into the soil. These ones, a whole video on how deep we dug those down. The last video I talked about how we started the mustard seed after cutting all of these plants off at ground level. So this was broccoli, cauliflower, red onions, and blue potatoes over here. Now the broccoli and cauliflower, the biomass that was above ground was put over here, and then I covered it up with wood chips later on. I didn't realize I'd be starting a good compost pile this year, and for the reasons of getting any sort of hay and straw or feed that's gone through horses, where this all came from, we have the persistent herbicides, and so that's why I'm going through a whole special process to deal with that with our composting. Those persistent herbicides, such as Grazon, can certainly affect broadleaf vegetables as well as others. Love tomatoes. I may make a quick video just walking out through the food forest. I really have neglected the food forest terribly this year, unfortunately. And the reason is, you know, I just can't, I haven't been able to get out there and harvest. We got thousands of apples that the deer have been coming in and eating from all the different trees, or at least several hundred. And there's still a bunch there, and I've got a lot of pruning to do with some of the trees in the food forest because of the branches breaking, because there were so many apples and peaches, and not as many plums, but apples, peaches, nectarines. Cherries did well, but not super fantastic. So here we are with our scarlet red runner beans again over in this area. As I mentioned before, Thea harvested, I think the week before last, or maybe it was last week. It's hard to keep track of it. Over here we had red onions. I'm sorry, we had carrots in this bed. Carrots in this one, some were transplanted from this one because we planted them too close together, and Thea went ahead and we harvested it together, and she processed all of those carrots over a couple of days. This last week I came out, removed pulled back the weed mats, saved all the staples, pulled back the drip tape, ran the tilther down over the top of the surface. Any plants that were still here, such as the kidney beans, I cut right off at ground level and left them in the ground, and ran the tilther after removing the drip tapes, and then seeded. And this is another example of the mustard seed mix that we've got here. So this is all for putting more carbon and more nutrients back into the soil so that microorganisms and the macroorganisms such as the earthworms can take advantage of all of those, the roots as they die back, and the carbon that gets put into the soil for the microorganisms as well. So we had carrots and carrots. Up at the far end we had the rosemary plants. I potted those up. I'll show you those. And these were beans in these areas here. Some more banana peppers here. I did seed around these banana peppers because we're going to let them come a little bit further. Probably this week, if my back feels better, I'll try and get the russet potatoes out. I did weed whack around here. All of the weed mass and all of the biomass above ground level in the beds all go into the composting. Many of our weeds are absolutely huge, and I've found in the past the compost that I made from our weeds ends up being probably some of the best compost that we do have. The banana peppers in this area, some honey locust trees, self-seeded. These are the rosemary plants that I got potted up. So, and we still have some red Russian kale. So I just watered these a little while ago. Came out and watered these beds because the drip tape isn't going to hit all of the locations, especially with the winds. The winds just calmed down a little while ago. Some lemon balm here in this one, the lemon balm in these two, and chamomile. And I think that's it for right now in here. Scarlet red runner beans are maturing here. So probably over the next, probably 3 weeks, maybe 3.5 weeks, we'll be harvesting all of the beans that are here. Sweet potatoes appear to be doing really well. I keep cutting off a lot of the vines as they get out into this area here. Did come through and took out the bulk of the weeds that were all in this area. That really was a chore. Those buggers were really in there, and I'm sure they've self-seeded along in here. If I'm feeling up to it, I'll go ahead and transplant a lot of these strawberry plants probably to the centers of the beds, and then add some of the hardwood bark mulch to the beds, and then also start the seeds as well. I really should do that pretty soon. The Hosta Berries, well, you can see these things have been growing like gangbusters. They're monster plants, how well they've been doing, and of course they are one of my favorite ones. There are a few high bush cranberry plants. There's one right there, and there are a few Illinois mulberry trees started on the other side as well. This was all weeded this week. The black currants Thea got down here by hand. I did all the big weed whacking around the outsides, which she pulled a lot of the horsetail that really overtakes. You could see how poorly these ones did compared to the ones down there. The horsetail just really took off up in this area. Thea was able to harvest a lot of the sage and thyme, and sage, thyme, was it lavender? No, I don't know that she harvested lavender, but she's got one other herb in our dehydrator. So all 8 dehydrators are going right now over in the work area. So our season is winding down. I'm kind of happy about that. Both of us are a little tuckered out from this year, and there's still quite a bit more work to do. It's sad that we didn't spend the time in the food forest, but there's just too many things for us to be able to take care of at this point in time. So that's an update on our gardens. How have things been going in your gardens? How's the productivity? Are you getting to the point now where you're getting ready for winter, or in some parts of the world getting ready for spring here before too long? So I'd really like to hear, you know, what your thoughts are. Do you do an assessment at the end of each season so that you can, you know, recognize some of the things that you could have done better, or recognize the things that really work fantastic? Those things are all really super important, in my opinion, is going back and doing a review, and you know, even coming out here and talking, you know, out loud about things. You know, it helps me a year from now to go back and pull up one of these videos and say, well, how well did this work with our transition to cover crops as well? I've got to go up and terminate the cover crops in the garlic and shallot beds up there in the third food forest. I may be able to get to that today. We'll see. I still have quite a bit more to do. So if you found these videos of value, please give us a thumbs up, share with your friends if you think that someone might enjoy or get something out of these videos. And by all means, folks, stay safe, take good care of yourselves, and do more gardening. Take care now. Bye-bye.